Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to this session of the International Conference on Gender Discrimination. Today, we are joined by the representatives of the European Commission, Ms Katja Lenzing and Ms Iafrate. Before continuing with the interview, I would like to give a brief introduction on our guest. So since March, Ms Iafrate is a Blue Book intern at the European Commission, where she works for the Directorate General in the Gender Equality Unit on gender-based violence issues. And in her past experiences, Ms Iafrate has been a communications assistant for the Dean of Science, Paul Aikes, for 3 years, an intern at the French Research Center based in Prague, and an intern for a short film festival in Montreal in public relations. Instead, Ms Katja Lenzing joined the European Commission's Gender Equality Unit in January 2021 as Deputy Head of Unit. Previously, she was working in the Secretariat General on Rule of Law and Democracy. Until 2014, she was in charge of drafting and negotiating European legislation in the area of civil justice in the Directorate General for Justice and Consumers. Now, given this brief introduction on our esteemed guest, we shall move on with the questions. I leave the floor to Monica. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Giuseppe, and thanks for the participation of our guests. We are, as Giuseppe said, extremely pleased by your joining in this conference, and I will immediately jump to it. It is common nowadays in our everyday life to experience directly or indirectly any form of discrimination. This could result from a misunderstanding of it by society or by an underestimation of its dangerous consequences. Nevertheless, it has been shown in the past years that young generations are developing a continuous increase in awareness towards society's issues and have been increasingly trying to be a positive change and influence for the future and for the rest of society. In fact, nowadays, many young people have a great interest in fighting for human rights and tackling issues of discrimination. In your opinion, in what ways can they make their voices heard and their arguments considered by larger institutions? Ms. Lenzing, maybe?
Yes, well, I'm happy to start. And hello to everyone. I think there are many ways in which young people can make their voices heard nowadays with the local or national or also international organizations. One opportunity which is open at present and was launched very recently is the Conference on the Future of Europe. This is really an exciting new project which is working through an interactive and multilingual platform. So everybody can, in his or her own language, submit ideas, organize events, find like-minded people, join events organized near him, and in that way contribute to the future of Europe, voice their ideas about in what kind of Europe you want to live in. This is open, has been opened a week ago, I think. It's on the internet, and we would very much welcome broad participation. There's no age limit, so you don't have to be 18 to join. And it's really an exciting, also an exciting new technology, because these kind of multilingual interactive platforms, this is really a first which we've launched with this conference on the future of Europe. So check it out. You will find it with Google, and please contribute. But then there are also other ways beyond the conference on the future of Europe. The easiest is probably, if you feel strongly about something, to join an association or a movement or a non-governmental organization where you find like-minded people to be active about human rights or the environment or any kind of other issue. Discrimination is one of them. Obviously, once you turn 18, you should really use your right to vote. That's very important to participate. We've seen it in the last elections to the European Parliament in 2019. that young people really turned out in much bigger numbers than previously. And if you look at the composition of the European Parliament, it makes a difference. Huh? There's more young MEPs, more Greens, which doesn't mean that all young people have to vote Green, but they tend to, in some places at least. And then if you have that talent and perseverance, you can also join politics. We have now currently the youngest MEP, so member of the European Parliament, is only 23 years old. So meaning in 2 years ago, or 2.5, no, 3 almost, when the parliament was elected, she was barely 20. So she's a young woman from Denmark. And it shows you don't have to wait for gray hairs to grow until you can join politics. This is also an opportunity for young people to make their voice heard.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think it's really interesting, and I hope it will, push some new generation, some young people to do something about our issues that we are sharing in our society. I will now pass the word to my colleague Maura for the next question.
Thank you. I would like to thank you again for your participation. Thinking of what we have just discussed regarding the consideration of younger people by larger institutions, it would be relevant to know what are the possibilities of making a change for an institution such as yours. So, Ms. Lenzing, what are the current actions of the European Commission to tackle the issue of gender discrimination, both at a European and a global level?
Yes, thanks. I mean, with the arrival of the current Commission President, so Ursula von der Leyen, we've really seen a change of paradigm in the policy on gender equality. It is now a real political priority, and that gives us much more leverage to do something and to change things at the European level. And we've set out our plan of action in a document published last year, the Gender Equality Strategy. So it's our mandate for the next 5 years. And it's structured around, say, 3 main pillars. One is that women should live free from violence and stereotypes. The second is that they should be able to thrive in a gender equal economy. And then the third block is that women should be able to lead equally through society, so both in on the economic and in the political sphere. So the overall goal is really to create a gender equal Europe, where we don't have the current discriminations and structural bias faced currently by women. And I can give you some examples of to illustrate a bit what these 3 blocks mean in practice. So when we talk about gender-based violence, one big initiative that we are preparing currently for this year is a legislation on against gender-based violence, which should ensure that in all member states we have the same minimum standards for preventing violence, for protecting victims, and for prosecuting the perpetrators. So it's going to be a big piece of legislation that is going to ensure these minimum standards across the EU. And it's inspired by the Council of Europe so-called Istanbul Convention, which is just celebrating its 10th anniversary. We are also working on to fight online violence. And there, the idea is to work with internet platforms and encourage the platforms to work on codes of conduct similar to what is already in place against disinformation, for example, to do the same on against online violence. And now, when it comes to the economic sphere, so thriving in a gender equal economy, our goal is really to close the current gender gaps in the labor market. Now, the term gender gap may not be very familiar to everyone. Basically, the problem is that women in general, they work less in paid employment than men. They often do part-time or don't work. They earn less per hour. As a consequence of working less and working less paid work and getting less money for what they work. They earn less, they get less pensions, and they do more work in the household and caring for children. So those are the employment gap, the pay gap, the pension gap, and the care gap. And we are trying to tackle these 4 gaps. And one, again, a legislative initiative, which we have published in March this year, is aiming to tackle the gender pay gap. It's an initiative which is increasing the transparency of salaries. So any employee who thinks he's paid less for equal work or for the work of equal value can ask, then his colleagues can ask the employee to the employer to disclose the average pay, and that facilitates a possible recourse against a discrimination. So this is one initiative, but then we are also working to help member states put in place better childcare facilities, because that is often a very practical problem that holds women back from work. So there's European money for that, through also through the current recovery plans. We are encouraging fathers to get more involved in this by putting in place a paid parental leave, which is only accessible to fathers, of 2 months, and that will apply as of next summer. I think I'll leave it at that for the examples in the thriving. Just a word on the possibilities to lead equally through society. So in the economic sphere, we are trying to break the so-called glass ceiling that holds women back from leadership positions in companies. We have an old proposal from 2012, which is still blocked in the council, but we are hoping that with some political changes to be expected in some member states later this year, we can finally get that ball rolling. And concerning women in politics, we're really focusing on the next elections to the European Parliament in 2024, where we want to support and encourage female candidates to participate in these elections. Jade, would you have anything to highlight from the young people's perspective in the gender equality strategy?
Yeah, thank you, Katja. I just want to add some examples that might be relevant for you, because as you know, there is some actions that aim to directly promote gender equality towards the young people, sorry. So for example, I don't know if you saw it, because you much, and like I guess everyone have like a social media or are active in a social media sphere. So there is this, for example, this campaign, it's EU Women for Future, and I don't know if you heard about it, but it's really, I think you should have a look, because it's a great way to know how like it's shown, and it's shown roles model to young women and girls, and celebrate remarkable women in research, innovation, education, culture, and sport. And it helps to fight the stereotypes, and it's also very good for young women, I believe, to have great examples to follow, and sometimes it can be missing. So this is why this campaign aimed to promote remarkable women. So please have a look, and I'm sure you might like know some of this woman, or might discover great figures. So it's always a good to learn from it. And again, just to come back to gender online violence, because I think we all know aware about what it is, and it's very important to know more about it. So please, again, like you can find a lot of information in social media through our campaign, and in the next legislative initiative, we are working on this specific topic, because it's the young people that are the most targets by this form of violence. And from what research shown, as far as we can judge, the COVID-19 just highlight this form of violence even more. So please know that we are working on this, and if you have any question on this, maybe we can answer as well to this. But it's everything that I can add on this topic. So maybe Katja, if you want to talk about maybe the international level, I think.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. It's important to highlight that we are also promoting gender equality and empowerment of women at the international level. It's one of our policy priorities in external action. And there also, we have last year in November adopted an ambitious agenda. It's called the Gender Action Plan in external action. Basically, we are trying to move things forward on two fronts. On the one hand, in our relations with international partners and third countries, so at the policy level. And on the other hand, through funding very hands-on and very concrete projects. So to illustrate a bit the work we do with international partners, for example, we engaged very much with the United Nations. There was recently in March, the Commission on the Status of Women, which is brings together all member states of the United Nations in a big event dedicated to women's rights and empowerment of women. And we are also working with third countries, non-EU countries, in political dialogue, human rights dialogue, in our trade policy, and in our relations with the neighboring countries, and in our accession negotiations. So the gender equality is a big priority in our external action there. And when it comes to funding, there's we have many projects, and it would take too long to talk about all of them, but I would like to highlight one which concerns violence against women. And it's there we've teamed up with the United Nations and invested really a huge amount, 500 million euros, in a global initiative to tackle violence against women. And it works together with member states, but also with non-governmental organizations, with private companies. It's called a Spotlight Initiative. And you will also find it on the internet, so it's worth having a look. It's a great tool. It has also very much helped now in the COVID pandemic to address the challenges faced by women across the world that are victims of violence. Monica, back to you.
Well, thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you for such insightful points. And I would like to pass the word to Alessandro. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mora. Thank you to our honorable guests. And now I want to ask Ms. Iafrate a question, but Ms. Lenzing, you're we appreciate if you want to comment on this. I mean, especially with many of our students which are in the last years of high school, so they're ending their high school, let's say, careers, they're going into the real world, so universities, and then the world in which you have to start working, and so stages and all these things here. We see you, especially Ms. Iafrate, as an example for many of us, as many of us want to work in international or European levels. And so my question is, do you believe that to let our voices be heard, we should do as you did? And more generally, I know we spoke about this before, but what advices would you give to our students to make their voices be heard and to reach their goals and dreams? Thank you.
Thank you. It's first of all, it's an honor to hear this kind of compliment, because I am just 23, as you might know, and it's just the beginning. So it's very nice like to hear some feedback, but when you're 23, you will see you don't feel like it's still the real world, because you just out of university and everything is still new around you. So I'll let you find out about your feeling at 23, but it's still the beginning, you will see. And of course, like I think I strongly believe, in fact, that our voice must be heard. And in fact, from as far as I can judge, I think it's increasingly being heard. Um, in fact, as Katja mentioned, the young people vote more and more. So we are engaged. I guess you guys also heard about Friday for Future. So we are here. We occupy this public space, and now we know that we can have like we can be a part of the discussion. But in fact, we have to wait 18 to vote and to have another way to promote our point of view. But today, regarding the gender equality question, I think as well that the feminist movement allows increasing awareness about like the how can I say this, about structural inequalities. And in fact, we are more and more aware of about all of this. And our generation and the ones that are following must be the ambassador of this cause. Effective change can only come from a society that is aware of this need for change. So if I can come back to my commitment, and in fact, I don't know if it's an example to follow, but it's something that I did. My first individual uh, commitment was just to share thing on social media basically, and to discuss with my friend, with my family about what gender equality was, and bringing this topic to the discussion. I think it's the best way to promote gender equality in a way, because it's starting with talking, and it's so just the beginning. So if you already have this kind of conversation, it's very great, and I encourage you to keep going with this. And then the first my first how can I say this, it's the first thing that I did to promote even more gender equality is to write my master thesis about this subject and about the advocacy of gender equality. And I feel really happy about it, in fact, because it was a way also to show how I can, I don't know, bring even more I would say, like, to get people know about it. And it was a way research helped me to do it as well. And today I am doing a dream job for me, and it's really awesome to work every day for gender equality, and especially on gender-based violence, because it is a hard topic. It's not easy every day to work on this, because you faced what the real world can be, and it's not always nice. But when you finish your day, you're very happy, because you might be among the ones that really want to change the world to make it a better place, if I can say. So I encourage you, if you want to work on this topic, to dedicate your career as well, because we need everyone in this discussion. So please, you're very welcome. So what I can say is this, and as well, I just want to add something, because I think it's really important as well toward gender equality. Please have experience or European experience. And me, I was really happy to have my Erasmus experience and to discover a part of Europe. And I went to Czech Republic. So I'm French. I'm from France. Sorry, I'm French. It was not mentioned, but so I'm from the south of France, and I went to Czech Republic, and I learned a lot as well from what gender stereotype can be in somewhere else as well. And it's always good to have discussion and to know more as well about other European countries. And Erasmus is as well such a great experience. So I welcome you to have one. And if you are even more interested by Erasmus, there is a great Erasmus Mundus on gender equality. I don't know if you know what it is, but it's a master degree that allow you to change university. It's like you can change universities 3 or 4 times, I believe, and you can have like 2 years of studying gender equality all around Europe. So if you are interested in it, the program is named GEMA, and it seems to be really awesome. So please have a look if you are interested. And another thing that I did is I was EPSO EU Careers Ambassador, so it also helps to know better how you can promote Europe and how you can promote gender equality among European institutions. So it's what I did. I don't know if it can help you, but it's what I did so far. And again, just when you're 23, you're still very young. There is so much to learn again. So please let me know when you will be after your university degree if you have this feeling, but you will see. It's just the beginning.
Thank you, Ms. Iafrate. I don't know if Ms. Lenzing wants to add anything else.
Well, just to add on the publicity that Jade made for Erasmus, I also had the privilege of exploring other European countries with this program. I went to France and the UK. Well, the United Kingdom, unfortunately, after Brexit, is no longer participating in this great scheme, but with the new Eastern European countries, a whole new world is opening there. Since I did my studies at least, so I really warmly recommend that one. And in terms of the kind of advice I would give to students nowadays is really, yeah, to free yourself from gender or other kind of stereotypes that may hold you back, that may limit your ambitions or aspirations, these kind of things that girls don't do science, boys don't do social. It's these role models. It's really time to overcome these. I find quite shocking statistics from a 2017 survey that actually 44% of Europeans believe that women's main role is to take care of the household and children, and the men's main role is to earn the family's income. I mean, this for me is, I've known this now for quite some time, the statistics, and every time I look at it again, I think it's impossible. And what I find most shocking is that when you look at the younger generation, they are sometimes more conservative in some member states, at least, than the previous generation. So there's no really a linear trend. So I would really urge you to tackle this deep root cause of gender inequality and to, you know, choose your life and your career path and your division of labor in the family according to what you think is right and not what others expect from you or society. And we at the Commission will continue to work to set the frame and the parameters and do all we can in terms of legislation and funding. But it's really up to everybody, every individual, to fight against these kind of stereotypes surrounding you amongst friends, family, in the company, at school, at university, etc. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. You touched really the main points that we want to all our students to start doing. So starting from discussing in classes or around the family with their friends of the topic and trying step by step to overcome these stereotypical barriers which stop many of us of achieving the myriads of things that we can all go for. And so thank you again really very much for these words. And now I want to pass the floor to Giuseppe.
Thank you, Alessandro, and thank you, Ms. Iafrate and Ms. Lenzing, for being here with us today. I really enjoyed your answers, and I would like to take one aspect that Ms. Iafrate elucidated, which is about the usage of social media. Nowadays, our generation is very, very into using social medias. And as you said, that's a powerful tool. And also with our experiences, we need to learn it, because from I misuse it because from using it wrongly, it can you can have very serious consequences. And I wanted to thank you, Ms. Iafrate, for elucidating this point. And as a final question, of course, this is a conference on how our generation should deal with this topic. And therefore, we wanted to ask you, in your opinion, how do you think that we, the Generation Z, should deal with these issues? And what advice would you give us to further enact ourselves into contrasting this phenomena in the everyday life moments? Thank you. Maybe Ms. Lenzing, you would like to go first?
Well, I mean, basically, I think that is what I already said in answering Alessandro's questions. You know, look at where you see gender stereotypes and try to tackle them at your level, in the family, in your work environment, or at school, at university, and really try to free yourself from these stereotypes. That's at the very personal level. And then if you have the drive and perseverance to go further, engage in civil society, in associations, in movements, on human rights, on tackling discrimination. There's a lot. I don't know what there is in Rome, but look out for that one and engage. I'd be excited to see some of you then later join the European Parliament. Why not? Aim high. That would be my advice.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lenzing.
And just to continue with this, first I would like to congrats you, because organizing this whole event, I'm sure it brings a lot of conversation between all of you. And if it I'm sure you're already having this starting the conversation, it's the most difficult thing. And the way you're doing it by organizing all the events, it's an awesome idea. So first, congrats. Then what I want to say is there is this quote that I like very much, and it's knowledge is power. So when I was saying follow I don't know, organization on social media, try to reach for information. It's how to start sometime. And it's very good when you know something, you just know better how to discuss about it as well. So I would invite you just to keep going on this, because it's a great way to just start a conversation. And then sometimes just think about your own behavior, because in the daily life, every day, we are reproducing maybe some comportments that should not be reproduced. So just sometimes just think about how can I be more tolerant toward other people. It can be on gender equality, but as well on other topic. Just sometimes just thinking about it can help. I mean, I guess we are not having this big thought time by ourselves, but sometimes it can help. And something else, and it's maybe tricky, but choose professional environments that are committed to this issue. Please do not accept something that you would not accept today. And I think it's really important, and you will maybe face this question someday. So just think about it, do I want to work in this work sphere if it's not respecting what I believe? And toward gender equality, you will see that you will have a lot of tricky situations. So good luck with this. I'm still thinking about it as well. And never be afraid of defending your ID. It's very important. So don't forget to not be afraid, because sometimes as well it can be tricky, but it's the best way to be a good ambassador of gender equality. And as I said to many of my friends, everyone is invited in the debate. So it's not about women fighting for gender equality, but it's about all individuals going in this topic and be a great ambassador. And I really think that our generation are talking even more about these issues than the previous ones. So we should continue with it. And it's basically what I can say is just keep going, because I think we are really going as far as we can, and the next one will just follow the steps, and I think it's going in a good way, and we should be proud of you and proud of the other people to organize this kind of event as well. And
Thank you very much for these kind words. I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, one sentence that might kind of summarize all your suggestions might be active, and therefore be part of your community, and be inclusive and open to diversity. And I have to say that Globe Educate and Rome International School do this. I mean, with our schools, we talk about these issues, and we try always to be more active to further engage ourselves into challenging these issues. And I really wanted to thank you for your kind words and for your participation. And I believe that what you said today is very important and a key aspect to take into consideration.